Thank you everyone for attending the Microsoft Word webinar. So what we'll go over today is some features that are helpful in Microsoft Word, some that might have been around for a while, and we'll also go over some others that are kind of newer features relating to Office 365 that many people might not be aware of yet. So we'll start out with some features and tips that has been around in Word, but we get asked about it frequently, or people might be a little bit confused on how they work. So I'll just go ahead and elaborate a little bit on that, and then we'll get to some newer features. All right, so these bullet points over here are some of the things we're going to cover. So you could just take a look at these and you'll get an idea of what we're going to do here. So the first thing that we'll go over is how to make a Word document into a fillable form. So like I mentioned, this isn't it's not a new feature in Word, but it's something it's useful, and many people might not know how to go about it, but it's definitely a good thing to know. So when I say a fillable form, what I mean by that is instead of it just being a document where you could add text or images, a form will have text fields or check boxes or option boxes that you could place in there, so people could actually fill out a form in your document. So I'll bring up a little example here, what I mean by that. So for example, let's say if you were going to the doctor's office and or the doctor's appointment, and beforehand they wanted you to fill out a form to get some info from you. So if they sent you something like this to your email, this is not a form. This is just a Word document. So it's a little unprofessional if you were to receive something like this. So you could delete any of the questions on the form, or just like any other Word document. So for situations like this, it would be beneficial to make this into a fillable form. And the way to do that is to have this in this developer tab. There are these form field options. So if I add a text field underneath first name, last name, reason for visit, and availability, what this does is it makes it a lot more professional, because it allows the person to fill out the sort of fields rather than just like a document. So when you send it to someone, what you could do is restrict the editing. And then once you choose restrict editing, there's this option to only allow people to fill out form fields. And then there's an option to start enforcing the protection. So when I click this, what it's going to allow me to do is password protect this document or form. I'm going to create a password over here. Okay. So what this has done is it makes this is now a fillable form. So if you were to send this to a patient, it's a little bit more professional. Now, what they're not going to be able to do at this point is delete any of the questions or other text on this document, they'll only be able to fill out the information that they're supposed to. So if it's asking for their first name, they would click in the first name field and fill that out. And same for last name or any other fields. So this is a fillable form, and that's how you create it using the developer tab up here. Now, you may not see the developer tab by default, so you might need to manually enable this tab if you do not. And the way to do that is if you right click up here on the toolbar ribbon and then say customize the ribbon, you're gonna see some options here on the right under customize the ribbon, and one of these you'll see developer. So by default, if this is unchecked, then you will not see developer up here. But if I go back in and I check developer and hit OK, it will then be there and allow you to add these fields to a Word document to make it a form. So that's how you create a fillable form in Microsoft Word. Some people might know how to do it, some people might not. So for those who don't, that's how you do it. And like our other webinars, I'm going to be sending out this presentation afterwards, which has some of these items I'm going over and how to perform them. So just in case you're not remembering exactly the steps I'm taking here on the webinar, you could just wait until you get an email with the presentation, and then you'll have access to all that. All right, and this restricted editing and password protection, that's actually something I just went over a moment ago. So this way, if you do create, for example, a form and you want to prevent people from editing anything besides, entering information that you want them to enter, you restrict the editing password using the option I showed you previously, where you go to developer and restrict editing. So restrict editing, it's not limited to doing it on a form, but really any document, if you want to restrict editing, for anyone, you could use this restrict editing option over here. All right, and here's another one. A lot of people get confused on how to convert Word documents to PDFs. There's a few ways to go about it, actually. So let's say I have a document and I want to convert this Word document to a PDF file. I could do it a couple ways. I could click on File and Save As, and then I could click this file type drop down over here. By default, it'll save your file as a Word document, obviously, but there is an option to save it as a PDF file. So that's one way to save a Word document and convert it to a PDF file. Additionally, you could, on the left over here, click Export, and then there's also a Create PDF option over here, and that essentially accomplishes the same thing. So it's good to know the various ways of performing, certain options in Microsoft Word, because it kind of gives you a few ways to go about it. If you want to, additionally, when you convert a Word document to a PDF, and let's say you want that PDF to be password protected, then you could do that from either way. So if you do the save as or export. So for example, I'll just do the export way, and then if I say create PDF, you'll notice there's this options button down here. If I click this, and then there's a whole bunch of options you could choose here, but if you look on the bottom, there's encrypt the document with the password. If I check this and then hit OK, it's going to ask me to enter in or create a password that will be the password used to protect the PDF. So if, as an example, I'll just create one here. I just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hit OK. And then I'll just publish. All right, it's showing up on my other screen here. Let me try this again. Okay, so after you save the file and then you open the file, if you set it to be protected with a password, what's going to happen is if you send it to someone and they open it, it's going to ask for a password. So in order for them to access or gain access into that PDF file, they're going to need to know the password. So if you have anything kind of sensitive in nature, this is a good thing to know how to do. All right, so those are some of the initial features we went over that have existed for a while, and it's really nothing new, but it's something that's good to know. And for people who don't know how to already do it, then there you go. Now we'll get into some features that are a little bit more current and recent in Office 365, and one of those is translating between languages. Okay, so the way this works is, let's say you have a document and you have a bunch of text in that document, but let's say you wanted to share that document with someone in another country and they speak a different language, and you don't want to have to figure out yourself how to translate every word or paragraph. I think it used to be that you'd have to go to like Google or some other translation service out there and then translate it and then copy and paste it back into a Word document. Now, Word has the functionality to actually translate the text for you within Word without going outside of Word. So the way I could do that All right, so if you click the Review tab at the top, you'll see a Translate option. Now, you could either translate just a section if you want to highlight certain sentences and then translate that sentence, you could choose this. Or if you want to translate the entire document, you could just say Translate Document. So let's say I have to share this with someone that is in South America and they speak Spanish. I could easily just click Translate Document. It's going to open up this side window over here. You don't really have to worry about the from, because Word will automatically detect. So if it detects it's English or Spanish or whatever language, then it'll know that automatically. So really, you only have to be concerned with what you want to translate it to. So there's a whole bunch of options here that Word gives you. So let's just say for this example, we want to translate this document into Spanish. So I would choose Spanish and then translate. And now what it does is it actually opens a new document and just copies that translated text to a new document. So the previous document is actually still open here in the background, but now it creates a brand new document with the same text except translated into whatever language. So that's an easy way to just accomplish translating text within Word without having to go out into some other website or service to do that translation. All right, table of contents. Again, this is another one that's actually not very new to Word, but it's sort of improved over the years, and it may be something that people don't know how to use exactly. So I'm going to go over a little bit on the basics on how it works, and that should help you sort of understand the feature a little bit better. So I have this example document over here, and let's say I'm creating an instructional document to show people how to, perform different tasks in Microsoft Windows. So for example, let's say I want to divide that into two categories, one Windows shutdown operations and another Windows startup operations. And let's say within each of these, I have some different options. So let's say one shutdown operation is to shut down Windows completely, another is to restart Windows, and then another one is to make it go to sleep. And for the startup operations, one option is to start Windows normally, one is to start Windows in safe mode, and one is to start in diagnostic mode. So I could save this document and send it to someone, but it won't be as easy to sort of navigate because there is no table of contents right now. So they would just have to scroll through and then figure out where each option is by scrolling. So the way to improve that is to add a table of contents. And the way I do that is I could go over here to the References tab at the top. And then on the top left, there's a Table of Contents option. It gives you a few recommended ways to lay out the table of contents, but typically you could just choose the first one on the list. You could play with a few of them and see how they construct the table of contents automatically for you. But in this example, I'll just show you what happens if I choose this first option over here. So what happened is it automatically created a table of contents for me based on the information I already have in this document. Now, what you have to be aware of is the formatting of these titles or sections needs to be thought out. So what I mean by that is, for example, with this Windows shutdown operations, if I highlight this and then I look on the top here, it shows me the different styles of text. So basically, the table of contents looks at the styling for different lines in your document, and then it uses that to automatically structure the table of contents. So I have the main section for this first part, shutdown operations, set as heading 1, and then each individual sub instruction I have set as heading 2. So heading 1, heading 2, and then I just have regular normal text within to show the actual instructions. And it's the same exact layout on this other one over here. This is heading 1, heading 2, and just normal text. So you really need to have a well styled document in order for the table of contents to work out for you properly. Because again, the table of contents, it's a great feature and it does a lot of the hard work for you, as long as you set these styling options in the right way. Another cool thing is if you wanted to format, let's say you wanted to bold one of the heading 1 sections or both of them. If I click up here, when you click into the table of contents, it's going to give you this update table option. And what that does is if you make changes after adding the table of contents, or if you make changes to the information below after adding the table of contents, if you click it and then say update table, it's going to look to your document and for any new changes that were made and then update it accordingly. So for example, I just bolded these heading 1s over here. So if I click in here and update table, and it didn't do it, which is kind of strange. Let's try that again. Oh, I'm sorry. You actually have to hit update entire table. By default, it's only going to look for updating the page numbers. But if you say update entire table, as you can see now, the table of contents looks to that heading 1 font and it says, okay, now it's bold. So I'm going to update the the formatting in the table of contents as well. So hopefully that gives you sort of a good basic understanding on how the table of content feature works in Word. All right, so if you're familiar with headers, what that is if you're in a document and you want certain text at the top or bottom of all pages of your document, you could create a header or footer. The header is obviously on top and the footer is on the bottom. But what if you wanted to add an image to the header? So first of all, if you don't have a header at all and you want to add one, what you're going to want to do is go to Insert, and then you'll see header or footer option. On this document, I already added a header, so it's here, Microsoft Word Webinar. So to edit the header, all I have to do is double click in, and then it's going to show this little header text over here and a dotted line, and everything above that dotted line is the header. So if, for example, in addition to this text, I wanted to add an image to the header, what I could do is click Insert, Pictures. If the picture is on your computer, you could choose this device. They also give you a database of stock images that Word lets you choose from if you don't already have an image. So let's just say I have an image, and it's this Word logo over here. So I'll select it, hit Insert, and it's going to be inserted. I could just easily resize it by clicking and dragging one of these little circles along the border, and I can make it smaller. And then if I double click outside of the header, it's going to close out of the header edit mode, and now I have an image in my header. So the purpose behind it is just to make it a little bit more professional. So if you're working on a document and you have to share it, it's a good way to enhance the design of your document, and it could also save time, so you don't have to go to like every single page and insert the same picture on every page separately. So utilizing the header is a good way to sort of add a standardized design to your document. And it's also good for branding. So if you're with a company or organization, it just makes it look more branded for you and a little bit more professional. And then if I wanted to adjust the placement, I could click it, and then it shows this little icon over here, and then I could choose some different options for where I want this image placed. This option lets me just drag anywhere I want, and then if I want it up here, I'll just click and drag it over there, and then double click out of it, and there it is. So that's how you add an image to your header in a Word document. All right, this is it's a small one, but it's also a good one to know because AppTech gets a lot of calls. I mean, any help desk, I bet, gets a lot of calls about people who are having Zoom issues, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second. All right, so if you're ever opening up Word, and just as sort of a side note, this happens in Outlook a lot also. So we've gotten a lot of calls. People open up Outlook or Word, and they notice that their font is like extremely small, and they could barely see it. So it's pretty common for people to mistakenly think that this is, you know, an issue with their font. So what they'll do is they'll click it and they'll say, all right, let me make the font bigger. So actually, it's not the font that's making the text size so small here. What it is, it's the zoom. It's the zoom level. So the way to confirm if it's the zoom or not is if you look on the very bottom right-hand side of Word, or if it's Outlook, it's the same in Outlook. So you want to look at the very bottom right, and then you'll see the zoom level listed right here. So right now the zoom is set for 50%. So what that means is it's 50% zoomed out of what is the normal size or the zoom level. So if I want to correct that, I could either click and drag this zoom bar, you know, to whatever level I want it to be. So if I want it to be 100%, I would drag it there. Or I could just click on the percentage, and then it gives me some just preset options here. So one of them is 100%, choose that, and now everything's back to normal. So again, it's just a small thing that I wanted to point out on this webinar because it's definitely something I've helped a number of people with over the years. So if you ever notice very small, you know, font, zoom is a good place to look. So Microsoft Word, one of the things that's improved over the years, it's always had the ability for the user to add a preset template to a Word document, but I would say over the past 5 years, they've really done a good job in adding a lot of template options for people to use, or theme options, I would say is a better name. But what it does is it gives preset sort of templates on different kinds of documents. So for example, a resume or a checklist or anything you could think of, really, a timesheet, a calendar. So these are things that maybe people have sort of suffered a little bit with and spent too much time trying to figure out how to create it from scratch. But if you haven't checked out some of the Microsoft Word themes in a while, you probably should take a look, because it's not just themes that are in Word. It actually stores a lot of themes that are contributed by Microsoft online. And I don't know exactly how many are available, but somewhere in the thousands would be my guess. So the way to start a Word document with a theme is if you go to File, and then you go to New. Instead of saying blank document, what you could do is look down here, and it's going to give you some suggested templates that you could start off with. For example, there's a resume, calendar. There's a document that has a table of contents already built in. But in addition to that, if you're looking for something specific that you already know of, then you could search for it in the search box, and it will basically search their online template database and find any that are relevant for what you're looking for. So it's just probably the easiest way to get a really professional looking document without too much work. So I would definitely just be mindful of that when you're creating new documents and you have a certain intention and you want it to look good. You might want to start out by looking at what themes are available. And just to give you sort of an example, if I wanted to use, let's say, snapshot calendar, you just double click on it, and there you go. So very easy. All right, now we'll get back into another newer kind of feature that has improved over the years. I believe it may have existed for a couple of years, but probably it's to the point where the dictation feature is actually works rather well, I think. So the benefit of the dictation feature in Microsoft Word is for people who enjoy speaking rather than typing too much. So if they want to create a paragraph and then just speak that paragraph, Microsoft Word will convert your speech, your audio speech, to text automatically. So if I'm in a Word document, you'll see up here on the right from the Home tab, you'll see dictate. So if you click that, as long as you have a microphone, you could speak into the microphone, and then Microsoft Word is going to automatically dictate and then convert that into text. And you can see that happening as I'm talking right now. You could even put punctuation, like if I say period, it will add a period. If I say exclamation point, it'll do that as well. So again, it's a great feature for people who much rather speak than type. And it works. All right, this one has been around for a while in Microsoft Word, but I believe it's something that a lot of people are unaware of. But if you have two documents that you want open at the same time, typically because you want to compare them, you could use a feature that will automatically open up two documents on a window side by side next to each other. So again, if you want to compare one document with another, it's a great way to do that. So I'm going to open up two documents over here and show you how that works. All right, so let's say in this example, I want to compare the 10 most populous states with the 10 least populous states. So what I just did is I opened up both documents. So they're, as you can see, I have two documents open up here at the same time. But rather than going back from one to the other to try to, compare one to the other, what I could do, as long as they're both open, I hit view. And then as long as they're open at the same time, you should get this option, view side by side. If I click this, all right, well, it opened on the wrong screen that I'm not presenting on, but I'll just manually drag it over to show you what it did. All right, so it automatically takes those two open documents and organizes them perfectly side by side on your screen. So I could look at both at the same time. So this is a great way to compare multiple documents. So Microsoft Word on Office 365 has made sharing and collaborating with documents very easy. So it's really sort of a new way to understand how to share documents with other people, whether they're in your company or outside of your company. So the main thing to note on how this works is you need to be using OneDrive to be able to use some of the sharing and collaborating capabilities in Microsoft Word. So I'm going to show you how to do that, but I just want to give you sort of a heads up or prerequisite that it's really dependent on OneDrive. So if you don't have a OneDrive account, then you're not going to really be able to use these features or utilize them to their fullest. So if you do have OneDrive, then sharing and collaborating with your team or anyone really is going to be a lot easier in Microsoft Word these days than it used to be some time ago. Okay, so if I open any document and then I look on the top right, you'll see this share button. If I click share, it's going to give me these options to share the document. Actually, before we get into this, I actually want to show you one thing before that to sort of really make you understand how it integrates into OneDrive. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to open another document that's never been added to my OneDrive. Now, if I have this document that I've never placed on OneDrive and I click share, it's going to give me this. It's going to allow me to upload the document to OneDrive. If you don't have OneDrive configured, it's going to ask you to sign in to OneDrive. If you do, it's going to list the account you're already currently signed into on OneDrive. So once you hit share, and if you're logged into OneDrive, you could basically click the account you want to upload the document to. So if I click here, what it's going to do is it's going to upload the document to my OneDrive, and now it's going to give me these capabilities to share the document and collaborate with other people on the document easily. So that's what I was meaning, how it's really dependent on OneDrive to be able to use these features. So once it's on OneDrive, you could determine how you want the permissions set for the document. So if you want to share the document with anyone out there and it's not really anything sensitive, you could just keep it as anyone with a link can open it. Or if you want to sort of secure it a little bit more, you could say specific people over here, and then it'll ask you who you want to share it with. So if I say, let's say I choose specific people, I'm going to hit apply. And also under other settings, you could sort of further determine, what rights people should have when you're sharing this document. So I'm going to click apply. Now, what I could do is just start typing the email address of who I want to share this with, or I could start typing the name of people in my organization. So if you're a part of an organization and everyone in your organization has OneDrive, you could literally just type their name and it should populate with whoever it is, and then you could quickly send it off. So for example, if I start typing MAR, and let's say I want to share this document with Martin, I could click over there, and if it's just him, I could just send it off, and then he's going to get a link and he'll be able to open the document and collaborate on it. If I want to add more people, I could start typing more names here and add whoever I want and then send it, and everyone will get a copy of the link. So as sort of a example, I already created one previously. So I created this document and I shared it. And then what I did is I shared it with a KB demo Gmail account that I have. And I'm going to open that right now to sort of show you how it works. All right. So like I said before, I shared this document with another Gmail account I have, and now I opened it from that Gmail account, and now I'm able to access the same document with the email I shared it with. So now both of these people are in the same document at the same time. So let's say this person I share it with is making a change. They're adding sentences. I could see in real time what they're typing. So this is really, really powerful if you want to collaborate with people and work on documents at the same time. It even tells me who typed the text. So for example, if this was added by the person who I shared the document with, it's going to tell me that they were the ones that put that text there. And it's pretty cool. So again, this sharing option is really, really great. And it's probably one of the most impressive things that you could do with Word these days. But it is necessary that you're using OneDrive to be able to use it. All right, we have about 2 more features to go over, and then we'll be done. The next 2 features are newer or upgraded features that have improved. So one of those is the editing feature, or the editor feature, which is basically an improvement to the spell check and grammar feature. So for example, let's say I have this document and I have all of this content within the document. If you look on the top right, actually just under the share, what we were just looking at, you'll see editor. If I click editor, this gives me a whole overview of improvements or corrections that I can make within the document. So in addition to spelling issues or grammar issues, it gives me all these cool little other improvements that I can make to make it sound more concise and clear, and just everything to sort of improve the document as a whole. So this is, I mean, it's hand in hand with the spelling and grammar feature, but it's just an updated version of it pretty much. So definitely if you're working on something important that you're going to be sharing with a lot of people, this new editor feature in Microsoft Word is definitely something you want to look into, because it's going to really improve your document. Another cool feature to help improve your document and your writing is called the rewrite feature. And the way that works is if you're having some issues, finding a new way to phrase something in, let's say, a paragraph or sentence, and let's say you find yourself repeating, a certain phrase too much, which sort of doesn't sound well, and you're trying to think of a better way to say it, or another way, or an alternative way to say it. That's where the rewrite feature could help you with that. So, for example, let's say we have this sentence over here, and let's say lets you is something that I've been using a little too much, and I want to try to find another way to phrase lets you. So what I could do is highlight it, right click, and then you'll see rewrite suggestions. And what's going to happen, actually it uses the editor, so it's kind of tied in with that editor feature. So it's going to show you suggestions on another way you could phrase that. So instead of saying lets you, I could say this allows you, to put it another way. Or let's say I don't want to say get help. I could right click, rewrite suggestions, and then instead of saying get help, I could say get assistance or receive help. So it's just a way to sort of improve your wording and phrasing within a document, especially if you don't want to repeat the same phrases over and over. That's a great way to improve that. All right, and that's pretty much it. There is one more feature that I think is definitely a convenient feature that was added, which is the search feature. And this is the last one we'll go over today, but it seems simple on the surface, but really it's going to save you lots and lots of time. I mean, it saves me time like you wouldn't believe. So I'm going to give you a few examples on how you could use the search up here. So this is the search box. Anytime you're, no matter what you're doing in Word, you're always going to see the search box up here. This is really convenient if you're looking for a feature or option and you don't remember where it is in the menus. Like you forgot where it's located, which tab it's in, or which file menu option. You can now just pretty much type anything you're looking for in the search, and it's gonna give you, I would say 99% of the time, it's gonna know what you're looking for, and you'll be able to click it directly from the search. So I made a few examples over here that might be helpful examples that you could will give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So let's say you want to email this document to someone. I could click up here and then just type send email. And then one of the it's going to come up with this action, mail recipient as attachment. And then it just opens this right away. So that saved me from having to go to File, Share, and then send it this way as an attachment. Another example is sometimes I like to add like divider lines in documents, and I don't always remember where that is in the menus. So if I type horizontal line, and it's giving me this line border option over here. If I click it, bam, I got my horizontal line, and I didn't have to go crazy looking through the menus to figure out where it is. And then other things like spell check, table of contents, background color. So let's say I want to change the background color. I don't remember exactly where it is. Just type it in. And it's going to show me this page color, and I could choose any color quickly and painlessly. So that's just some insight on how you could save time using the search box up here in Word. Again, it seems like a very simple thing, but it is really helpful and could save you a lot of time. And that pretty much does it for this webinar. So I hope everyone was able to learn a bit about some features that are new and also some features that might not be so new, but maybe you weren't aware of. So again, thank you for attending this webinar, and I hope everyone has a great day.